Gurcharan, one of the things that troubles me, and in some sense, your book brought back those feelings I had. One of the things, if you look at the way Western society developed in the last 200-300 years, ultimately it became more and more a rule of law. And in some sense, the rule of law was embedded probably in their religion, in the sense, the kind of moral absolutism, the 10 Commandments, and so on and so forth. And they were able to therefore adapt to the rule of law, which made it relatively easy for common people to know what is good, what is bad, what is legal, what is illegal. And you need in a society that rule of law to make sure that you have order, that you have fairness, and so forth. Now, in a dharmic sense, where it's a lot more ambiguous and a lot more contextual, how do we raise the level of dharma to creating what we now think of as a rule-based society?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good observation. Clearly, a more absolutist morality of like the 10 Commandments does lead you to accepting much more, makes you in a sense more law-abiding right away, to accepting rules. And in a classical society as ours, these things are contested.
Exactly.
And the Mahabharata is a wonderful
and
example.
also, I just want to add, I think sometimes abused, because people use the concept of dharma as an alibi for not doing or doing a lot of things, and therefore, it gets into that mode.
Yes, yes. And there really are two ways to go to your point. One is that the Mahabharata itself contests dharma. In other words, dharma is evolving. The epic took 500 years to evolve. And so in the beginning there's dharma in it, which is the old Vedic idea of dharma, which meant doing the Vedic sacrifices, doing the Vedic rituals. And if you did those rituals, you were dharmic, you gained merit. So the word I translate that as merit. Then there is the influence of Buddhism. Clearly, while the epic was being recited and evolving, the Buddha came, and Ashoka, Maurya came, and the sense of dharma and also the yogic sects, by the way, and as well as Jainism. All of these, in fact, challenged the notion of the Brahmin priests, that if you do the sacrifices, you will be dharmic. So that led to the notion of dharma as much more a personal matter of conscience, a universal dharma. And this universal dharma is what then Manava Dharma Shastra or Manu Smriti called Sadharan Dharma for all the castes. But by the time the Dharma Shastras come about the 1st century BC, what happens is that there is the societal dharma of the Kshatriya, the Brahmin, the Vaishya, the woman, the judge, and so you have this contextual dharma come in. And that's why the characters are actually all the time at loggerheads. Draupadi is saying, be a Kshatriya, go and fight and get your kingdom back to Yudhishthira. But he expresses much more the Buddha's idea that, look, I've given my word. Dharma is Satya. How can I do that? So the epic is moving forward in this context of dharma. Anyway, then very interesting what happens is, I'll now take you fast forward to the 19th century, when in Bengal, the English missionaries, for the first time,
they've co-opted dharma.
They said to the people of Bengal, ours is the only true dharma. Christian mission. So suddenly the word dharma meant religion. And then slowly with Bankim Chandra, Radhakrishnan, Vivekananda, all these people, Gandhi, dharma again acquired a much more universalist meaning, influenced by John Stuart Mill, the liberalism of the 19th century. So what you have here is a situation where you are right. We are all quite confused about the meaning of dharma. However,
No, but to me, more than the confusion, it's the fact that people take shelter under dharma to not necessarily always do the right thing. I mean, they claim to do the right thing. See, my point is that we have grown up with some Western liberal ideas. We want a rule-based society, rule of law, all men and women are equal and all that. So how do we take those ideas and graft that and come out? I mean, dharma is evolving, modernizing. How do we modernize it to the next level? That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a very, very interesting point. And certainly in the very end of my book, in that 5-page essay called Dharma, the Story of the Word, I raised the question exactly that at the very end. Because we are evolving and every generation will read the Mahabharata and interpret it for its own needs. And my quest has been, ours is a postmodern, post-reform generation that we are in. And so obviously I see the liberal values in this book.
So I think that's the great thing. I think you have given the liberal Hindu life again in some sense. And also set the stage for this conversation, this discussion about how do we then marry it to today's reality.
Yeah. And I would just sort of say at the end, thank you, Nandan.
Thank you, Gurcharan.
for coming here. And I can only say that the work you're doing is going to help lift dharma to the next level in our society. But it will do so only if we do administrative reform, police reform, judicial reform.
Absolutely. And thank you for a wonderful book.
Thank you indeed.